the sellers you work with, or just from the industry?
Yeah, I still think inventory planning is one of the biggest ones. The reason I mention it is because it is just so painful when you run out of inventory. Um, for people that don't have like a plan, I would say have 60 days of inventory on the side. I know this is easy to say, and a lot of people are like, yeah, it's easy for you to say that, right? But like, where am I gonna pull out like money for 60 days of stock? You can use things like Wayflyer. Wayflyer are very affordable. You can essentially, get the funding, buy a PO for your products, and pay for that funding with your profits. If you're not profitable, it's not you're not going to get it anyways, but it's not advisable either way to get a loan when you're not profitable. But when you are profitable, you can use other people's money just so you can have an additional 60 days of stock sitting on the side, and then just kind of run through it. So send that 60 days to Amazon, replenish that 60 days. So worst case scenario, you have 30 days of stock, at Amazon at all times, minimum, bare minimum, and 60 days of stock, urgency stock. Um, I'm telling you, like, it may sound like a lot, but you will lose way more money running out of stock. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I'm noticing is, like margins are getting tight for a lot of brands. And I think brands are like, they're not really proactively looking for all the ways that they can improve their margins. I think there's a lot of ways you can get creative. You can add variations to your listing that have like better margins to kind of leverage existing traffic. You're already getting those people into your listing. What if 10-20% of them bought like this other thing that had a little bit more margin, or this other thing that had a little bit more margin? So variations are great. I think in negotiating with suppliers on better pricing, better terms, all of that stuff is going to help cash flow management. And I think going into 2024, cash flow is going to be incredibly important. So being very tight with that. One thing that I saw this past year, commonly, which I'm surprised about, is a lot of issues during manufacturing make it to Amazon. So skipping inspections is definitely not something I would recommend. I did it when I first launched on Amazon. I skipped an inspection, and 60% of my first batch was completely destroyed. I had to like message every single person that got a product and beg for forgiveness so I don't get like a bunch of like 1-star reviews. So I would say quality control matters more than anything.
What about PPC side? I mean, I know you guys do a lot of the advertising components for your clients. So like on the advertising side, advertising has become overwhelming for me. Like I used to be more very hands-on with it, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like some new release like every week. So I'm curious, are there any areas where you've seen that there's some really common mistakes that maybe newer brands are doing, or even the experienced ones, or ones that just are not as in tune with their advertising?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see brands do is utilizing like multiple ad types, just for the sake of like utilizing them. So like sponsor product and sponsor brand and sponsor display. And one of the issues of that is you have an organic rank like right here. You put a sponsored ad, and then let's say like you were getting 100 sessions. Now that you have a sponsored, maybe you're getting 120 sessions, because it's like most of the people are seeing both, and there's not that many more that are clicking on the sponsored. So how much did you spend for that, sponsored rank versus how many additional sessions did you get? Because that's ultimately like your potential for making sales. Then you add a sponsored headline search ad on there. So now there's another opportunity for people to spend money, but then you go from 120 to maybe 125 sessions. Then you add a sponsored video, and now you're going to 128 sessions. So you essentially created three opportunities for people to spend more money while only adding like a very small amount of new sessions that are ultimately turned into sales. So that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of people will come to me and say, we should be utilizing video. I'm like, how do you know that we should be utilizing video? And I'm like, okay, cool. We're not utilizing video right now. I'm going to spend $200 a day on video, and let's see what happens to total sales. We spend $200 a day on video. Total sales go up by $250. And it's like, oh, look at the video in Campaign Manager has an 8x ROAS. I told you this is a good idea. I'm like, are you sure this is a good idea? Because it looks to me like you only made $250 more, and your profits are actually less now. So I'm like, let's pause video. I pause video, profits are back up. And this is something that a lot of people miss, is Amazon's attribution is really bad, at least from what I'm seeing, is you can have like one day you're increasing spend, and then you notice that your PPC sales go down, but your total sales go up. And then you decrease spend, and you notice that your PPC sales go up, but your total sales go down. So things don't move in like directions that make sense, and the only possible explanation is that attribution is off. And because attribution is off, it's also off when you look at sponsored product versus sponsored brand versus sponsored display, because it's essentially the same people clicking on organic, clicking on sponsored, the different types, charging you money. But when you just look at the top line, you notice that, like, okay, let's correlate the ad spend versus top line. Okay, by adding sponsored brand, I didn't notice that I got that much of an increase in top line. And this also happens with organic versus sponsored products. So if you're organically ranked really high, sometimes adding a sponsored position in there results in you getting 10% more sessions, but spending 30% more, 40% more, resulting in a net loss. So that's one thing on the ad side that I've noticed very commonly. And like you said, things are getting more sophisticated. There's a lot more advanced tools. And I think that also is like a double-edged sword. Yes, there's new tools, things that are great, but also I feel like it can cause a distraction to a lot of people when the fundamentals are the same. You're launching campaigns, you're essentially trying to get visibility on keywords, identify which ones of those keywords you can spend money on and they'll convert profitably versus which ones you shouldn't spend money on because they're not converting profitably. A lot of people just get away from that and start leaning into more, let's do day parting. Like when this Amazon marketing stream rolled out, everyone was talking about day parting, and I'm like, guys, I've already tried day parting manually. I'm telling you this stuff, it's bullshit, and the attribution is off and all this stuff. And they all tried it, and no one really had any conclusive data. A lot of people wasted money, and all these softwares obviously came out and said, we'll target the perfect time that you can optimize and do this and that. And at the end of the day, like when you just look at PPC spend and total sales, and you start looking at, let me change one factor at a time and seeing the impact on total sales, that's when you start really making progress, as opposed to trying to change multiple different things and hoping that it's just going to go up, your total sales are just going to go up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely can feel overwhelming. So I like that. Back to the basics. I know you got your start, Mina, in kind of the supplement space. So I kind of jokingly said at the intro of this show, but I've always stayed away from that space just because I've seen so many accounts that have gotten like just dealt with so much trouble, either where they're squeezed out of the market and they don't have the money to spend to fight back, or they're just getting their products taken down for claims or something like that. So I'm curious, like how you see the supplement world on Amazon these days. Do you still have your brand, or I don't know if you exited that or you still have it?
No, it's still there. It's still there.
That's
I had
awesome.
another one that I started and exited, but my OG one, MMA Nutrition, still there. We still run it as if it's one of our clients, and it's like the opportunity for me to always find every single new thing that comes out on Amazon and test it, on that like account.
Love it.
So it's been a great sandbox. Yeah, you talk about supplements, and I think a lot of people share the kind of the same feelings of, like, supplements are so competitive, and like, how do you deal with so much competition? I think it's the deeper thing is, it's only a lot of competition if you're not creating that much of a better product. But if you come up with a solution to the problem that's better than everyone else's solution, and you have a review strategy, and you kind of understand, okay, right off the bat, I can't go for those big keywords, I'm going to go for those longer tail keywords. But when I do go for those longer tail keywords, which have lower search volumes, easier cost per clicks, not that many people, not as many people are bidding on them, CPCs aren't as high, you're able to, like, start carving out a piece of the market for yourself, especially when you have a really good product. And so if you're considering, like, okay, I'm in the supplement space, or I want to get into the supplement space, and maybe you feel like it's not going to work out, if your product is definitely better than everyone else, if the price is in line, even if you can potentially be kind of on the lower range of pricing starting off, if you're able to get reviews, which, by the way, one quick hack on how to get reviews, because you can get like 30 reviews from Vine, right? Um, Try and get like 8 different variations from your manufacturer. as like samples. Like say, hey, can you send me like 50 units of this like slight variation of the product, and list them all at the same time, and you'll initially, from Vine, you'll get 30 times 8, 240 reviews. So that's a way to get reviews really fast from Vine. Use multiple variations. You never have to reorder those variations. Or maybe they, one or two of them start selling well, and you're like, okay, cool. Let me like reorder more of that one. But of course, make sure that, your main one that you have plenty of stock for. Um, but yeah, I think a big part of like for me, if you go and look back at when I launched in 2018, I had the ugliest listing. It was a golden bag. It had like a sticker. Like I'm like, I don't even know why people bought it. Like why would people buy such a cheap product, cheap looking product? And I think there's no more room for that anymore. But if you do come up with a solution that's better than everyone else, you package it really nicely, and then you follow all like the right like fundamentals of Amazon, really good main image, really good listing images, selling the product through the images, things like that, you should be 100% fine to, we're launching supplements every day, some of them without really big budgets, maybe $100 a day, $200 a day, and a lot of them are succeeding because the products are really good. And then some of them, I'll talk to the founder and I'll say, listen, straight up, I have no confidence in your product. I don't see a reason why I would buy this one versus others. And they're like, no, I think, this and that. I'm like, fine, whatever you want. It's your money. We give you our recommendation. And then, after like months of bleeding and bleeding, and they're like, okay, fine. Like, I think we should kill it. And I'm like, dude, it's people don't want it. Like people don't want to buy a like 200 review product, 100 review product that is just like the same as everything else, maybe inferior, maybe slightly better. Like you need to have a much better product because you're competing with, someone who's not as good as you, but has 10,000, 20,000 reviews.
Yeah, love it. Mina, let me ask you a question. Do you like pineapple on pizza, if you even eat pizza?
Oh, no, 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 no. That's a crime.
After telling me you have a food scale, I'm worried you probably don't eat pizza.
No, I love pizza. I love pizza. I went to Italy and I ate pizza every day for like 2.5 weeks. And so now I don't eat pizza anymore. Maybe for the next 2 years, I won't eat pizza.
Okay, fair enough. The reason I ask if you do you like pineapple on pizza though, or does it not have a place there?
No, I hate it. I hate it. It's like, it doesn't, it's a crime to have pineapple on pizza.
Okay, good to know. The reason I ask is that this is our controversial take section. So I like to ask all of our guests what's one thing that they might believe that other people in the industry might not believe or might have different thinking on. So I'm going to ask you that question. Is there anything that's more maybe a controversial take that you have, or a hill you're willing to die on, I guess, so to speak, about something in the Amazon world?
Yeah, yeah. I think you already kind of saw the answer, right? It's Amazon PPC software. I think I think software is good and bad, right? Like anything. I think the good of software is that it is automatic, so they can do certain things that a human might not catch, maybe because they're not working or it's the weekend or something like that. So I think PPC software can be a great guardrail. What I hate is the way that software companies sell PPC software. They sell automation and AI like it's like this real thing, when deep down, we know that there's like not really that much AI. There's not really that much things being done. A lot of it is rule based. Even when it is AI based, it's based on what? It's we don't even know what it's based on. They make it very complicated to understand what it's based on, or they say that it takes into account everything. I had a conversation with software company the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, we take into account everything." I'm like, "You take into account conversion rate?" They're like, "Yeah, we take that into account." I'm like, "You take into account like competition?" "Yeah, we also aggregate the data, take that into account." I'm like, "So you literally take into account everything? How?" And it's like, "Yeah, like the AI is constantly learning." I'm like, "That's no. Tell me the truth. Tell me how you're pulling all your competitors' data. You literally have like API scraping, or bots scraping, the listings, downloading data from Helium 10. Like, tell me the truth." And so I think the problem is software companies, PPC software companies, really pitch the fact that this automation what is gonna cause the improvement in people's brands, when really it's not. Because if you think about it, let's say that your software can make 1,000 changes a day, 2,000 changes a day. We know that Amazon attribution is off. So you're making these 1,000 changes based on numbers that you're seeing that are wildly fluctuating, and an ACOS could be today 80%. 3 days from now, that same exact keyword ACOS drops to 20% because someone purchased. But maybe it took a day for it to register, or it took a day for them to purchase. So after one day they purchased, and so that product, that keyword went from an 80% ACOS to 20% ACOS, and now you just negatived or paused or lowered the bid on a keyword that was super profitable. And so because of these things, because of changing so many things, and then trying to figure out what change caused a positive or negative impact on total sales, uh, I don't think that software, like AI automation, making all those changes daily, real time, I don't think that has any value. I think the value of software and how we've used software, and I'll shout out Scale Insights for being a great partner, and helping us, is guardrails for a lot of brands. We set some guardrails. We say if a keyword spends, X amount of dollars and no sales, add it as a negative. If a keyword spends, or the ACOS is X amount, like over 80%, and it has less than 2 sales in the last 60 days, add it as a negative. Like things like that. It's just like, okay, prevent overspending, and then also it's not making all of those changes that we were not unable to figure out. Like, it's like, okay, it's making one type of change, two types of change to prevent overspending. It's not automatically launching campaigns, it's not increasing bids and decreasing bids and doing all of these things. And then I'm like, okay, cool, why did my sales go up? I can't figure it out because I look at my history tab and there's 1,500 changes yesterday alone. So that's kind of my topic. And I really, I admire what software companies are trying to do in this space. I just hate that their marketing is very, very misleading, and they are trying to sell people on. It's like they're kind of very similar to the gurus, right? The gurus who, with the Lamborghinis, that are like Amazon's passive income. All you need is one product, generate 8K. You can buy it on Alibaba for $2, sell it on Amazon for $30, makes $8,000 a month. Join my course and I'll show you how to do this. And this is how I paid for my Lamborghini. And they sell you that dream, and that's what PPC software is doing. They're selling you that dream of plug in that software. We're gonna, look at all of these things, and we're gonna automatically change this and that, and it's gonna grow. And I'm like, so your software does that. Just go connect it to the stock market, and make billions of dollars on the stock market. If that's how good your software is, you don't need to sell it for $100 a month to Amazon sellers. And like they know. I think deep down they know. I think software will eventually get to a point where it's like software is empowering people to make decisions, but like that automation and that like automated, sort of like we take all the actions for you, we use AI. Eventually people are going to find out. Every time I hop on a call with someone, they're like, yeah, we came from this software company, we got burned, it didn't go well at all, now we're looking for an agency. And I think after they churn enough people will start realizing that, okay, yes, software is cheaper, but it costs more money in the long term, because it's just you'll end up like losing more money versus. And I'm not endorsing that you have to use an agency like mine. Do it yourself, or have an employee or something, but there needs to be that human element of looking at the data, interpreting the data, deciding, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to pick one thing, one focus. I'm gonna try and scale. So I'm gonna launch a few new campaigns, increase a few new bids. Okay, cool. It's a small section of things that I did. Did that result in an increase in revenue? Yes or no? And it's very controlled, and it's that discipline, as opposed to let's change 600 things. I heard Mina talk in this podcast about optimizing main image, price changes, adding subscribe and save discounts. Cool. Let me do 6 things and then see if my total sales go up or down. And that's what I struggled with when I first started. I essentially heard everything, implemented all at once. And then I'm like, okay, I can't deduce anything. So I'm like, okay, fine. Let me go back. Let me just implement one of those things. And I would implement and then wait and watch the result. I'm like, okay, cool. Taking notes. And I did that again and again and again and again. Over the course of the years, I figured out, certain things that I feel work and I feel that don't work. But then again, they are not truths or laws. They're just hypotheses, and I have to, test them every single time. And I say, okay, cool. We're taking over this new account. Our hypothesis is if we take these keywords, search terms that we found in the search term report that were profitable, launch them in their own campaigns with a slightly higher cost per click or a slightly higher bid than the cost per click, we should hypothetically generate more sales. Let's test it. And we test it, monitor it. It works, amazing. It doesn't work, okay, move on to the next thing.
Mina, love it. You've got a high energy, a lot of knowledge. I mean, I feel like we could talk for another like 2 or 3 hours. Well, let me just say, I could let you talk for another 2 or 3 hours because you've got a lot to go on. I want to be respectful of your time, though. So definitely a controversial take, by the way. It's great to hear it. I want to turn it around to you for a second. If people want to get in touch or learn more, where can they find you, or where's the best place to reach out to you?
Yeah, I think my Instagram at the Mina Elias, and LinkedIn is Mina Elias, Minaelias. Hit me up for our Amazon Growth Toolbox, which is essentially my entire company's toolbox of all our macros, Excel spreadsheets, keyword campaign creation sheets, deduplication, merging like Cerebro with the search query performance report with the search term report, identifying profitable search terms, not profitable search terms, adding negatives at scale, everything, profitability calculator, guides, YouTube videos, anything useful we store in that toolbox. And we give it away for free to everyone who's trying to succeed on their journey on Amazon. So hit me up for the toolbox, or go visit the website. It's triviumco.com. We have it there too. And if there's anything I could do to help, just let me know.
Cool. Love it, man. For those of you watching, listening, we'll put links to anything Mina just mentioned down below in the description or show notes as well, so you can find them there. But with that being said, Mina, thank you again for coming on and dropping all the wisdom. We definitely need to have you back. All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks again to Mina of Trivium Group for joining us today. Hope that tonight's episode brought you some kind of insights or strategies that you found valuable. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Amazon Strategist Show and spending your time with us. If you did find some kind of value in today's discussion, we kindly request that you rate, review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you might listen to it, or on YouTube. Your feedback definitely helps us out, and it helps us reach more e-commerce enthusiasts just like yourself. Don't forget also to follow us on our social media pages for updates, behind the scenes content, and more. You can find the links to everything talked about in this show, including those social links, in our description or in the show notes. So that's it for today's episode. Make sure to mark your calendars. We're going to be back again next week with another captivating discussion. And we're also going to be bringing more expert insights, more game-changing tips from some of our amazing guests. So without further ado, this has been your host signing off and wishing you a happy selling.